Okay, welcome back. Now to our next story. You know, the 26th of July 2023 military takeover in Niger Republic is a sad reminder of the tiresome leadership question in Africa. The chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Governments, President Bola Tinubu, angling for a quick resolution of the political crisis in Niger, has dispatched a three-man delegation to the Sahel country with a mandate to expeditiously resolve the political impasse there. The group, led by Nigeria's former military head, retired General Abdulsalami Abubakar, left the country for the Nigerian capital Niamey on Thursday. We wish them Godspeed.
Yeah, they're back. They didn't even get the privilege of meeting the leader of the junta. This crisis is much more complicated than we think. The presidents of ECOWAS, the ECOWAS heads of government have every reason to be worried, because between 2020 and now, we've seen 6 countries, governments of 6 countries toppled by the military. Asiwaju's very good friend, Conde, president, yes, in Guinea,
Conte, yeah.
in broad daylight, was pushed out of power and paraded on the streets. You know? So I can understand why they are worried. And this is not the first time. When the former president of Gambia refused to...
Yaya Jammeh.
Yes, after he was defeated and he didn't want to leave office. Nigeria played a big part in sending him packing. I remember that story that Premium Times wrote then, that we were sending an armada of warplanes, you know, and they had to arrest their editor. But that was what we did. We did not just send warplanes to Gambia. We flew the Alpha jet low on the presidential palace. Within a short time, Jammeh picked his phone and called President Buhari. I'm ready for talk, sir. Because he didn't know what was coming next. Remember, too, Obasanjo also did the same thing.
In Sao Tome.
Yes,
Yeah.
in Sao Tome Principe. African leaders are not comfortable with military takeover, especially when you imagine what happened in the past. Even the bloodletting that comes with a military coup, sometimes put the civilians on trial and then you put them to death by firing squad. Sergeant Doe did that. But in the end, he couldn't keep the country together. You look at countries like Burkina Faso, Mali at this time, they are like failed states because these military rulers have not...
About 6 countries.
Yes, there are 6.
For the moment.
That's the 6 countries between 2020 and now.
Yeah, yeah.
They are
Under
now
military
under military rule. Let me even...
Yes, I think Mali, Burkina Faso, Sudan.
Mali,
Chad.
Burkina Faso,
Chad,
Sudan,
yeah.
Chad, Guinea,
Guinea, yeah.
and Niger Republic.
Niger.
So Mali, the takeover was in August 2020. August 2020. Then we had Burkina Faso, we had Chad. Chad, a military ruler, succeeded a military ruler.
Father to son.
Father to son.
Father and son, yeah.
That's after the father had ruled for more than 30 years. So in April 2021, his son
took over.
And then Guinea, September 2021, they will promise a smooth transition to civilian rule, but they will not do anything. Yeah. Even when Idris Deby was killed, the promise publicly made by his son in taking over was that there will be a transition to civil rule. But it usually doesn't happen. Everybody lost power. They just remain. So I can understand why they are trying to pile pressure on them. But for me, war is not something that Nigerians should consider.
Yes.
Or
We
if you
can't
like, force is not.
force. And well, it's the same thing when I say
war.
war. It's war.
No. Intimidation. I know. I understand what.
So we should not go to war over this. I know that the president has already informed the Senate of his plans, including the fact that military exercises, military drills along the border with Niger will begin and all that. I don't think we need to go to that extent. One, of all these countries around us, Niger Republic has the most extensive border. Our border with Chad is not extensive; it's a very small one.
Yeah.
You know?
Niger,
But Niger
is from Borno.
Niger
Down.
I think for
Niger
you,
begins from Kebbi,
yeah.
Kebbi in the northwest,
Yeah.
right up to Yobe, in the
Yobe.
northeast.
Okay.
So we are talking about 6 to 7 states. Now, like Jigawa in the northwest, they share border with Niger. Sokoto shares border with Niger. Katsina shares border with Niger.
Kano?
You know? No, not Kano.
No, Jigawa.
Not Kano.
Jigawa, Katsina.
Jigawa, Katsina, Sokoto. You know? So now, our people, there's no way our people won't suffer in the event of a war. These people, and a lot of these places are not manned. They will start making incursions into our country, harassing our people and all that. War, you will never fully appreciate the ill effects of war until you have seen it brought to your door. So we don't want war. Let the efforts, other efforts, we've already said, okay, commercial flights between Nigeria and Niger Republic, we've stopped. Even goods in transit, we have stopped. We have stopped giving them electricity. Whereas, at the time we were going to build the Kanji Dam, we agreed that Niger Republic and Benin Republic will not construct any dam because our country is like at the base. If any of those countries decides to dam the river Niger, we will not have water.
Yeah.
If you look at the map, you see where we are. Once any of them dams constructs any dam, the water won't get to us.
That's takes its source from Guinea.
From Futa Jalon, then comes, you look at where, in Kebbi State, for example, you know, we have River Niger there. Just before it gets to Kebbi, if they were to dam it, we'll be in trouble.
No, but Niger Republic is already damming it at Kandaji. They're already damming the river. They are building a dam at Kandaji. Since 2021, this Bazoum, he started building a dam. He started with the Russians, then gave it to a Chinese company. So it's like, you know, Jide said, it's complex.
But we agreed to give them electricity
but
in return for not constructing.
But if we cut electricity and they decide to go ahead with that dam, those boys decide to reciprocate and go ahead with that dam, we will suffer.
Yeah, well, the effect may not be what it will have been in those years. Remember now we have at the time we rely so much on the Kanji Dam with its 700 kilowatts installed capacity. But these days we have many thermal plants. So an hydro power plant is no longer something that you can say, oh, if Nigeria doesn't have, so we have many thermal power plants now. Egbin here in Lagos is the biggest in West Africa, you know, and at its installed capacity, it should be about 2,000 megawatts, even bigger than what Kanji can offer. And we have others, even the little one in your state.
Gentlemen, I'd rather we talked briefly about the leadership question in Africa. so as to keep the military boys at bay.
Yeah, that's also interesting. You will find out some of these countries, even Niger, their new leaders are younger people. So there appears to be this revulsion. You know, younger people in Africa are saying, no, that let's do away with these old men. You have people you live like in Cameroon, some of these countries that have had leaders for so many years, the same person. So younger people are saying, enough of all these gerontocrats. Let's have new blood. Let's have younger people. And the result is through military rule. Because it appears that, of course, these older people have entrenched themselves in power. And so getting for the younger people to get power through democratic means.
Yeah, but at the same time, we can talk about
Idris Deby came in, he was very young when he came in.
Very
young.
And now joined.
And he spent over 30 years.
And joined the gang.
But look at military rule will come with fiat. They rule.
And then later on, they drop their khaki and transmute into the civilian rule.
Yeah.
So what people must be careful what they ask for.
Because they might get
Because these guys, you know, where power is so by nature intoxicating.
Yes.
Intoxicating. Yeah. When I remember in 1990, African leaders came to Abuja for a meeting. And the president of Uganda was young. He had just taken power like 4 years before that time.
Yoweri Museveni.
Yes, he was young, and he was, I'm coming. Just listen to me. So, and he was like, look, we will not tolerate this gerontocratic fixation by African leaders, this and that. He gave a rousing speech. And he said, anybody who spends 10 years in office must have overstayed his welcome. He's been there since 1986. Yes, he's not left.
Yes.
That
and I remember
is the problem.
We were in South Africa when a journalist asked him a question. No, it was actually the late president of Zimbabwe,
Mugabe.
Okay,
Mugabe, that was asked that question. That, Mr. President, when will you bid the Zimbabwe people goodbye? His answer was, where are they going? You know, somebody who's going somewhere.
Yes.
That, you know, he was a master at giving those very sharp.
Yes.
Very
witty man.
Yes. So he just asked the journalist, where are they going? The journalist didn't know what to say. He was so...
He just walked away.
He was so wrong-footed by the answer. He just walked away, left the old man. So Mugabe too came in 1980. Everybody liked him. But Mugabe, even at more than 90, he wouldn't leave power.
Oh, come on.
So these young people of today, if you leave them, they will take power
and
turn themselves to civilians. They will not want to go. That is the problem.
The Nigerian experience is something we can draw from. You know, nine coups in total, 5 successful ones, 4 failed ones. You know, so are we learning lessons?
Well, the thing is that, you know, like the Liberian president said, George Weah, that, you know, there must be institutional reforms in Africa.
Yeah.
And one of the things, you know, in the 90s was that I thought NEPAD, the new Partnership for African Development, you know, one of the key pillars was peer review, peer-to-peer, that countries would encourage African countries would encourage each other to keep, you know, to democratic principles, to do things that will help their people progress. But, of course, along the line, these things didn't work out. Then the intervention of these former colonial masters. Then don't forget also why we should be careful about Niger is that Al-Qaeda, ISWAP, and the rest of them are hanging in the wings.
They are even there now.
They have almost destabilized Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
They have almost destroyed Mali. Even Niger has been suffering from them. So if there's any escalation of military conflict, don't forget Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. They share a kind of affinity against this insurgents.
Emeka, we must go to our next story.
It will.
It's just to tell all the parties involved that the tragedy of war, Jide, Emeka, is that
war is costly, my brother.
Very
we spent more than $15 billion on the war in Sierra Leone and Nigeria, and we didn't gain anything.
Nothing.
Today, it is the Chinese who are enjoying those countries. They are the ones who have come to set up businesses and all that.
and so on.
What have we gained?
Yeah.
We lost our men and women fighting to keep peace in some countries that are thoroughly ungrateful to Nigeria.
The tragedy remains that war uses man's best to do man's worst. We can't afford it at this time. All right.